Let's tie Mag's Dirty Shrimp. We have a Tiemco 800S in a size 4. Thread we're using is UTC 140 in a cream. We're using this hook because the Bonefish in Hawaii will bend out an 811S. So this is that extra heavy hook. Just the thought of hooking up into a bone, a double-digit bone, over by the airport or on the Kaneohe side or in Molokai or on Kauai, that'll bend your hook. Holy cow. My buddies go over there and my cousin goes over there and they fish with 10-weight rods and they're undergun. That's a dream come true. We'll get some Dumbell eyes. These are 5/32 eyes. Or just cross-wrapping it onto there. I got a touch of, put a touch of super glue on there to make sure they just stays rock solid. Tie it in near the eye of the hook and then bring my thread back into the bend of the hook. I like my antenna to go up a little bit towards to bend down or up depending on you, but I just don't want it to be straight parallel with the shank of the hook. So I take it in a little bit further. Now I've got some 30-pound mono and I've melted it. And then I've dipped it into fluorescent green paint. Actually, it's nail polish. And it cures with a UV light. Pretty slick stuff. Now I'm crimping it, that mono, so I'm not trying to wrap something round to round so it doesn't roll on me. If I crimp it and then I bend it, I'm attaching a flat surface to a round surface using thread, and it stays in place much easier. You note where I've trimmed those eyes is up in the upper section because it's going to give me a little bit more thickness up in the front, in the thorax area. Or the head area. Excuse me for using trout terminology. Lay that down. I'm also going to take a little super glue and nail it down also. Now you see that little nozzle attaches to my super glue? You can get that at any model store. And what it does is let me get a really tight placement of super glue. And if it clogs, I just nip off a little piece of it. None of those accidental spillage. Now I'm going to take some boar bristle, and this is what I like to use for my antenna. And I've got about, at least a dozen to 16 or more pieces of boar bristle. And I'm just evening it out, and I'll take 2 or 3 of them pieces and pull them out, and those will be my straight antennas. These are supposed to be like the feelers or the legs or such. I just like this stuff because it's perfectly colored for shrimp pattern. And see how now I've got it, I'm tying it in and it bends up towards the curve of the hook. Was my intention. Now take that bunch and I'm going to try to split the bundle and put it on the other side of those Dumbell eyes. And what it'll do, after I wrap it closer to the Dumbell eyes, it'll make those butt ends of that boar bristle flare for me, just like at the tail of a shrimp. So I'm using both ends. And I take my thread back up to the front again. And I'm going to get a little bit of flashaboo. Now this is about 8 or 9 strands. and I'll double it up. So, but I like to fold it because then I know if it comes loose, it's not going to go anywhere. It's been bent over, and then fold it down again. So I've got at least 8 strands of it. I'll pull it over. And double it up. And I'll cut it so it's a little bit more of a taper. Now I've got some pearl silly legs. They've got pearl colored with flakes, silver flakes. And the way I'm tying in my legs are parallel to the shank, and then I'm going to bend them over and tie them down. And what I'm trying to do is that the way I tie them in so that I don't get, there's a lot less chance of the legs fouling into the hook. If you tie them in cross so they run perpendicular to the shank, then you're more likely to get a foul. This way, hopefully they'll trail to the back and also clear easier in the back when you go to cast. Now I have some 1/4 inch tan scud back. I've cut a little bit of taper into it, and it's going to become the back of my shrimp. Now I also use plastic bags and just cut up strips of plastic bag and tan, and I'll drop a little marker on it. But I just happen to have some scud back nearby. But let me tell you, it doesn't matter. You can just use some just a plastic bag from a sandwich bag. Works just fine. Now I've got some 3/0 tippet material, and it's just I'm gonna use it as my ribbing material. And I'm tying it where I think the base of my thorax is going to be again. So I like that front thorax section is going to be really wide and thick, and then I use it to create the segmentation for the rest, for the abdomen section of the shrimp. And I'm going to stick it into the eye of the hook just to keep it out of the way while I dub the rest of that body. I'm going to do a little bit of a split thread technique, and what I'm using for dubbing is actually the underfur on craft fur. It gets depending on how long you cut it, it's a really good spiky dubbing, and it's cheap. Now this 140 denier thread really splits really easily, so you should just unravel a little bit, lift it with your finger, and then you'll get that it'll turn into a ribbon. You can split it easily with a bodkin. Now, most times when I do a dubbing noodle or a dub thread, I like it real sparse, but in this case, I want it really clumpy and a lot of material, mainly because I want it to be really spiky. It's kind of like the rest of the legs for the shrimp. You can't see it here, but I've got about 2 to 3 inches of a dubbing noodle there. And I'm spinning it right now to capture that dubbing into the thread. Now I'm just going to wrap that dubbing brush in the front portion of that, or the thorax portion of that shrimp. Now I'm going to pull remember to pull your tippet material. You don't want to wrap it down. Now I'm going to put some more dubbing on my thread. And all I do is apply it. I'll put a little wax and just twist on a little bit more sparse noodle, create a little bit more a sparser noodle, dubbing noodle. I named this fly Mags because it's short for Magsoniti, which is my grandfather's name, and I'm naming it after my Uncle Pete, who was from the Kaneohe side, and probably my most favorite uncle. I bring that dubbing noodle back into the eyes, those dumbbell eyes. I'm going to take that scud back and pull it over the top, and it'll be the back of my shrimp. I'm going to tie it off right behind those dumbbell eyes. Got a little stretch, you can tell. I take my piece of tippet material now, and I'm going to wrap it back to the back. Put a little pressure on there so I get that nice segmentation of a shrimp. Now I'm going to take my scud back and I'm going to pull it taut so that it has a little bit of a ridge in it. Then I'm going to take my scissors and cut it so I get a point. See how I fold it in half? And I'll use my scissors to cut right down through that, and it'll give me a little bit of a point. So I've really enhance the shellback portion or the tail portion of it, both with the boar bristle and using that scud back. Now one cut cross, and then I like a little diamond shape, pointed shape. So I'll cut the other direction also a little bit. All I need to do now is to whip finish, and the fly is basically done, but I'm going to add a couple little enhancements. I like doing 3 whip finishes and then another 3 again. Tease out a little bit more of those legs. You can see how shaggy it is. It depends on how long you cut that under fur from that craft fur patch. Now I'm going to take my fly and turn it the other direction so I can apply some fluorescent green nail polish. Same color as my eyes. You'll see that little black dot in there. All that is a black dot of more nail polish. And then I coat the whole thing with UV resin. And this nail polish I'm using is a gel, they tell me. And what it does is it flows, it covers really thick and it flows really well, so it evens itself out. But I like to, I'll make it probably 3/8 of an inch, 1/4 to 3/8 inch long, so that baby shows up. Now I'm going to hit it with the UV light and see how it fluoresces. I think that helps. I think that helps underwater, and I think maybe the fish can see that band of light. I'm only getting one side. I have to flip the fly over and hit it again on the other side. Normally when you hit it with the UV light, you can see it. It's usually purple-blue. But because of the fluorescent green nail polish, it glows green. Turn it back over again. And this is my Mag's Dirty Shrimp. Thank you.